Oh, how do I turn that?
The green light.
There we go. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ashley, and I am a tarot reader, and I am so excited to start off our book talk with Hannah Troyer of A Radiant Way, who just published a fantastic new book called A Journey Through Tarot. I think several people in the crowd have a copy. Does anyone want to put their copy up and show it to the camera? They can. Yeah. Really show him. I don't know if anyone can see it. Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. It's so exciting to finally get to talk to you about this and just vibe over tarot. So I wanted to first talk about what we messaged about a little bit ago, which was the fact that you use Alice in Wonderland, which is our shared favorite story, to kind of think through the tarot. So, could you talk a little bit about that choice? Why Alice? What does Alice have to show us about the supernatural?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Alice in Wonderland. I have loved Alice in Wonderland for many, many years since I was a kid. And I remember when I was a child rewatching the movie like over and over and over again because I just felt like there was something really like important under the surface, I guess, that I just couldn't get. So I rewatched the movie over and over and over again. I loved it. And then I remember when I first started to actually read the tarot, the first deck that I got was an Alice in Wonderland themed deck. And it was actually gifted to me. I don't necessarily believe that your first deck has to be gifted or anything, but that deck was gifted to me. So that's where the Alice in Wonderland imagery started to come back in. And then, yeah, when I sat down to write the book, Alice in Wonderland had kind of come back in synchronistically into my life. And I laid out all the major arcana cards and I was kind of looking at all of them in order. And all of a sudden I had this like click where I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I was trying to figure out about Alice in Wonderland. It's Alice going through life's journey, falling down the rabbit hole and, going through all of these different events, meeting all of these different people, learning all these different lessons, and ultimately like ending at, realizing that this is all just, it's about the journey. The whole thing is about the journey. And that's where we learn the lessons of life. So yeah, that's kind of how Alice in Wonderland came into my understanding of the tarot and writing the book.
Awesome. So talking a little bit about the journey element of your book. So I think a lot of us who do tarot try to explain at least the major arcana as a story of the soul through life. But you also talk through stories when you go through the individual suits. So could you tell us a little bit about like the flavor of each of those stories, because it's a big story with all these little stories involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I started to write the book, the major arcana is what I started with, and that is more commonly seen as a journey. And so that's what I wrote first. And then after I wrote that, kind of read back through and realized like, okay, there's really something here. I started to look at the suits as well. Because a lot of people get really caught up in, trying to memorize the cards and seeing them as these kind of isolated sort of energies. And I wanted to see if I could actually see even just the suits themselves as a journey. So I laid those out as well. And I started basically with the elemental association of the suit. Like, for example, the suit of wands is associated with the element of fire. And so I kind of started with that association and went from there of like, okay, if we start with the ace at like the purest of the energy, right? Of that like fire energy, what can we learn once we move into the 2? And then how does that journey grow as we move into the 3 and the 4 and all the way through to the 10, all the way through? Like, can we see that as a journey as well? And once I started to like look at it, I realized I think we can.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience of reading your book. I read it straight through because, like I said, it was a cool story, and I loved all the illustrations of the individual cards, but then also the kind of like nice notes of, now in the 4, you are, I was thinking about 4 of Swords and you're exhausted and things like that. And so I then tried to, for a couple weeks, just check my meanings against your cards. And it was just such a rich, different experience, because it wasn't like this card means this, but it's, that memorization that you talk about. But it's more of like like, where is Alice in this card, right? And so could you talk a little bit about how you want us readers to experience the book? I talked about it straight through and then as a guide. What are ways that you're envisioning us reading your book?
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And thank you for sharing your experience, because that is exactly what I would love for people to do. I want the book to be just as rich and potent for someone who has been reading the tarot for years as it is for someone who knows nothing about the tarot and is just picking up the book, without having any previous knowledge. I really want people to be able to read the book straight through like you did, which I love. Because so many times you pick up a book about the tarot and you're just like, flip it, you pull the card and then you flip to the page and you read, what is the Chariot about? What is the 7 of Swords about? Right? I want people to actually be able to read it straight through, because I want you to be able to place yourself in the journey. So like, let's say you're pulling, like you said, the 4 of Swords. So if you keep pulling the 4 of Swords, like I've done this myself, a lot of times you'll look through all your books and then you'll Google the meaning and like see if there's anything else there. What I would love, and my real vision for, teaching the tarot, is let's sit with that and sit with what that means for your journey. Like, let's sit with the energy of that rather than looking outside yourself and trying to find someone else's meaning of the card. The cards are going to mean something different to everyone because we are all different people having different human experiences. Like they're going to mean something different for you, and you are going to read things differently than I do because we're all different people. And I think that is the beauty of the tarot, is it doesn't have to be cut and dry and logical and this is the answer, this plus this equals this. It's an energy. So like, what does the energy mean to you and how does it resonate with you? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
And going off of that, I know people go to tarot for a variety of different reasons, asking for the future or, vibe text or whatever. So when you do your daily tarot practice or your regular tarot practice, what are you asking the cards? What are you generally looking for?
Yeah. So when I do my daily tarot practice, usually what I'm doing is basically just asking, like, what is the information that I need to know for today? Like, what is here that I need to be aware of? And sometimes I do go deeper than that. If I pull more than, one card in my daily practice, I'll ask things like, what do I need to know about this relationship? Or is there any information about, my purpose or my career right now? But for my daily tarot practice, I really don't put like a harsh stop on like, okay, what is this about right now? Like, I just want to know the information. Like, I'm open to the information that comes through, whatever's, I'm open to whatever.
So going off of that, do you find that there's like a time of day or general like set of things you do around tarot? I know that you do a lot of other metaphysical things like, healing records. So could you talk a little bit about how tarot fits into your, regular spiritual practices?
Yeah, for sure. I do have several different tools, I like to call them. I have like a toolkit of different modalities that I can pull upon. And tarot is, I feel like it's such an easy one to integrate into everything else that I do. Like you said, I do healing work, and I do like Akashic records readings or like psychic readings. And a lot of times with that kind of stuff, I pull on the tarot for just like clarity or a tangible way of seeing something. So like, let's say I'm in a healing session and someone is really longing for some clarity around something. I can pull a card and that can give you like just the imagery that you might need to be able to actually like understand and embody what is happening in the moment. Does that make sense?
So I'll just note that as I was reading, I noticed that you don't have reversals in your guide, and so I know everyone deals with reversals differently. That's why I wanted to ask you, like, what's your philosophy around reversals, and how could we approach reading your guide with them or with them not in mind?
Yeah, for sure. So I love that you bring this up because I feel like actually not a lot of people bring it up and they just assume, like the upright means one thing and the reversal means another thing, which a lot of people practice like that. But for me, usually I keep my deck mostly upright. Although there are times where something will come out upside down or reversed. And that to me means it's supposed to be that way because I do keep my deck upright most of the time. When I go through and cleanse all my decks, I put them all upright. But if you do practice reversals, I think that's great if that's part of your practice. What I think is one of the cool parts about how I wrote the book is I'm not telling you what the card means. I'm giving you an idea of the energy of the card. So let's say you pull a card reversed, you look up the page in the Journey Through the Tarot and you read the energy of that card, flip it, see if you yourself can flip that upside down or see if there's almost like a shadow side of what the energy is. Because the way that I wrote it is not like this is what the card means. This is the essence. This is the energy. This is the feeling. So how does it feel to you when that energy is flipped on its head or flipped to its shadow side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that you keep coming back to energy because I think that that's really vital in my practice with tarot is thinking of it as like a energy signature for that question, right? So speaking of energies, are there cards that you generally, or at least maybe like recently, have been really vibing with their energy, or cards that seem to be following you no matter what, and you don't want that energy around?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I go through phases with cards a lot of times. Recently, I have been in a sort of portal with the Temperance card, which I love because I am like a super Sagittarius, and Temperance is the card that's associated with Sagittarius. So I've been pulling that for a while now. It keeps showing up, and I love that. A card that I don't necessarily love a lot that I was kind of in a portal with a few months ago is the Three of Swords, which I feel like no one wants to be getting the Three of Swords all the time, but it was actually a really beautiful experience where I was able to really sit with a lot of like grief and pain and hurt and be able to actually really transmute that because I was able to like, understand what was going on because of the tarot, which is my favorite part of the tarot is like, oh, okay, this is actually going on right now. Like I can actually, be validated that this is my experience right now. But yeah, I feel like I was really able to sit with that and transmute that pain rather than, carry it on forward. And then of course the card goes away once we learn our lesson.
Yeah, yeah. It just, the way you talk about these cards, it's almost like you talk about portal, and you also talk about like, lessons, like, like there are friends here to tell us something. Once we receive it, we let it go. Um, do you find that you tend to do certain kinds of spreads during certain kinds of like events in your life? Like I know you talk about, um, your daily pull, but are there spreads that you tend to kind of do or pull out, just in general?
Yeah, I know you do really beautiful spreads because I've been following you on Instagram and I love them. They're inspiring me actually. Um, I actually don't have a ton of like really formatted spreads that I use a lot of times. I'm kind of like I don't know, I call myself like a story reader because when I lay the cards out, I'm kind of just like, okay, let's vibe. Like let's see, what comes up, and then based on what comes up, let's, ask some more questions and like create a story with this. And that's really how I read with other people as well. Like I ask them what's going on in their life. And I pull a few cards and see where we're at. And then we just kind of vibe back and forth. And I almost like create the spread as I go. Although I have been inspired lately to maybe like hone in on a few spreads because I do like the idea of structure around it too. But for the most part, I just gravitate towards vibing and creating a story with the cards as I go.
Yeah. I love that, in our brief time talking, we, began with the story of the tarot, and now, you're ending with how the tarot tells, individual stories. Before we move to your collective reading, I wanted to ask if you have any, I guess, tarot related New Year's intentions. Are you planning to try out doing something different? What are you seeing is going to be new for 2025 now that you've written the book on the tarot? What's next?
Yeah. So, as far as specifically tarot related intentions, I have been much more disciplined about pulling my one card a day and actually writing it down in my like planner, which has been a really cool practice because I've gone through like tarot journals and different things like that before, but I never seem to keep it up because it's kind of like a lot of work to be writing and like journaling about the card every day. I'm not a huge journaler, but I do keep a planner. And so it's been fun to look back and see like, okay, this week I pulled, these cards in a row and now they're coming up again, or I've been pulling a certain card on a certain day, even, like for some reason, Tuesdays, I keep getting the Seven of Pentacles or something like that. So that's been kind of a cool thing to be able to almost like literally go on a journey with.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking about your book and your philosophy on tarot. I now think we are ready for a collective reading for the folks in the store and online. So I'm going to turn that over to you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for all those questions. Those were so beautiful. And I love, talking about the tarot in this sort of different way. So thank you for all your questions and being, allowing me to talk about the tarot in the fun ways that I see it. So for our reading today, I'm going to we'll start with 3 cards and just see where this takes us. But I would just kind of, before we start, like, everyone who's here watching online and in person, just taking a deep breath and kind of centering yourself and allowing yourself to get ready to receive whatever information comes through from the tarot today. And if you want to set an intention for, something that you're seeking guidance on, or something that you are wanting to sort of filter your reading through today, you can do that as well. But let's see what comes through for us. This is a great time to get a collective reading because it's like beginning of the new year too. So let's see what the cards hold for us today. Okay. So, ooh, beautiful. Okay. So first we have the Magician card. The Magician card is the create your own reality card. It is the card of manifestation. It is the card of really sovereignty and personal power, and understanding that if you can think it, you can create it. One thing I really, really love about the Magician card, if you've never noticed this before, and this is just a traditional Rider-Waite deck, which is the deck that I really like to read for other people with, just because the imagery is so good and easy to explain on it. So with the Magician card, you can see all of the different suits represented on the card. So you've got the Pentacles, the Cups, the Swords, and the Wands. And you can see that, this is, he's basically the master of his own reality. So if you can master all of the different elements of your life, you can create anything that you want. So this is a beautiful card to be receiving at the beginning of the year as well. So it's like, okay, what do I want? What am I creating? What do I want to see in my reality? And how can I alchemize what I have right now to be able to actually see that and know that, like, you are the one that creates it. It can feel like a lot of pressure sometimes. But once you like really embody your own personal power and like understand that you are able to create whatever you want and that your desires are good and beautiful, this card is really like a key to unlock some really, really cool doors. So the Magician is the first card that's coming up for us today. And then following that up with another beautiful card, the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is all about love and peace and joy, and just like embodying this overflow of just abundance, like abundance of all the good feelings that you could ever want to feel. This card really reminds me a lot of community as well, like finding the community and the environments that make us overflow with this like love and joy and peace. And following the Magician, understanding that we create our realities, this can be your reality, and you actually can be in charge of creating that as well, wherever you are. So I love that that's following that up. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles, yet another beautiful card. So I don't like to say cards are good or bad, but these are kind of all good cards, at least really beautiful cards. So the Queen of Pentacles is about being the nurturer, being that almost like when the Queen of Pentacles comes up, it's like it's saying, hey, you're someone who can nurture, you're someone who can make people feel comfortable. You are someone who can use your gifts to help other people understand that like they are safe here. They are safe in this reality. They are safe with you. And also understanding that you can be safe with yourself. You can give yourself what you need. You can nurture yourself. So yeah, I think all these, the Ace of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles coming up after the Magician is just reminding us, like, we create everything that we want, and what we want can be attained. You know, like these beautiful, beautiful energies of love and nurturing can all be available to us and are available to us if we understand that we are in charge of our own reality and we can create whatever we desire.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hannah, for that collective reading.
Yeah, of
I
course.
think I think we can all receive good things. And like you said, we kick it off with creating our own reality through the magician. So wonderful. I feel really energized by that reading. I think now we are moving to questions from the crowd. So if anyone in person would like to ask a question for Hannah, we'll pass the mic to you. And I think if we receive questions online, we'll also read those out to you. But to kick it off, do we have someone in the store who would like to ask Hannah a question?
Okay. This one. Okay, so I have this question. How do you protect yourself from negative energy? I love this question. And I think that this is becoming more and more important. And this is becoming more and more important in our spiritual journeys, to understand that, like, there are energies out there that we don't need to be a part of. And so what I like to do, one of my favorite practices, is a grounding practice. And you can ground in lots and lots of different ways. I'm sure you've all heard about grounding and have a practice, either going outside, bare feet on the ground, walking in nature, things like that. But if you don't have the ability to do that, or if you're, maybe you are a tarot reader and you're sitting in front of lots of different people, one of my favorite, easiest ways to ground your energy and protect your energy is just taking a breath and imagining a golden bubble protecting you and protecting your energy, almost like a shield. And then also imagining a grounding cord coming from your root chakra going down into the core of the earth. That can be such a potent practice to just ground your energy immediately. And just setting the intention. Like, I love that the Magician card is coming up, because we are in charge of our own energy. We don't need anything outside ourselves. We can master all of the elements, and all you really need is intention. So if you have the intention and just say, I don't welcome anything that is not for my highest good right now, and I'm putting up my golden shield to protect against any negative energy, you're good. Like, you can trust that that is enough to be able to protect you from things that are not for you. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for that question.
Okay. All right. We have someone who wants to ask you a question, Hannah. We can turn you around a little bit right here. I just wondered, do you have any favorite tarot decks? And also, do you enjoy reading any other kinds of cards, any different oracle cards or anything like that?
Yeah, good question. So one of my favorite decks is my first Alice in Wonderland deck. And I can't tell you where to buy that because it's old. It's like a vintage deck from the 80s. But I do love that deck. I really, really actually do love reading with the Rider-Waite deck. Like I said, I think the imagery is so good to be able to learn and understand the tarot and the energies. That's what I use in my book. And it's really easy to explain to other people if you're reading for other people or experimenting with that as well. But yeah, I do have lots of other tarot decks. I actually have a deck that ironically I really like. It is a deck that has Catholic iconography. I come from the evangelical Christian world back in the day, and it's kind of cathartic for me to use a deck that has Christian imagery in it. So I really like that. And also it's beautiful. It's like gold foil and red, really pretty. So I like that deck a lot as well. But I do use oracle decks. I have several different types of oracle decks. I have a sacred geometry deck that I really like. And I have a Lemurian oracle deck that I really like. I can't remember the exact names of those right now. But yeah, I like to use those two a lot. And I feel like that really can supplement a reading. A lot of times when I'm reading, I will have oracle decks like at my disposal that I can kind of like vibe with whoever is sitting in front of me. I can kind of like grab the deck that I feel like resonates with them the most and can maybe give a little bit more clarity or a different perspective to the reading. So yeah, I use any and all divination tools and cards, different decks and stuff.
So thank you. What's the deck with the Christian iconography?
That is, let me think for a second. I think it's called the Tarot of the Tsar. It is like a Russian Orthodox deck. And if you look it up, it's Tsar, like Tzar. If you look it up, you'll see like it's a deck that has like a lot of like the gold foil and like really bright fire truck red imagery on it. I think Catholic iconography is awesome and just like really beautiful artwork. So yeah, any deck that has beautiful artwork. The tarot is really just art. So yeah, any deck that has beautiful artwork like that, I'm into.
Thank you. All right. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions from the digital digital folks?
I think we're good.
Okay. So do you have any imparting thoughts or questions or anything you'd like folks who have bought the book to just, get excited or, just any last words for those who are curious about a journey through the tarot?
Yeah, I really just want people to know that they know enough right now to be able to use the tarot as a tool. Whether you literally just picked up the book and don't even have a tarot deck yet, or whether you've been reading for years and you just want to deepen your practice and deepen your own journey, the tarot is not as unapproachable as people have made it seem in the past. So follow your intuition, as you're picking decks, as you're, buying other books, and as you are deepening your own tarot practice, follow your intuition and follow your desire, because that's really all you're doing, in this practice. This is just a practice of following your intuition, following your desire. And we can do that, with everything in life. And that's really the journey, is following your heart down the rabbit hole.
Well, thank you, Hannah, for writing this wonderfully approachable, exciting Alice in Wonderland themed look into the tarot. Thank you for our guests in the bookstore and online. And happy reading, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's such a joy and an honor to be here. Thank you for all your questions, and thank you for all who listened and received.
Thank you. All right.